About 4,000 years ago, in a land shrouded by chaos, a battle erupts between monstrous beings and a lone human mage. With a thunderous quang, energy blasts ripple through the battlefield. One of the monsters screeches as it's hurled away by magical force. The land is filled with looming figures, fierce, muscular creatures charging at the mage. But with sheer power and unshaken resolve, the human tears through them like they are some meatballs. Amid the chaos, one of the monsters says, "A mere human dares to challenge us." Another snarls, "What exactly are you?" The human, floating calmly in the air, energy swirling around him, responds with confidence. "Haven't you heard of me? The apostle of justice who fought against evil that brought disorder to the world. That's me. Humanity's strongest 9-star great mage, Lucas Trauman." More monsters react with disbelief and fury. "How dare a measly human rebel against us?" "What an outdated mindset," Lucas replies. "When someone like me achieves everything he wants, he starts trying to help out the world. It's called volunteering." One of the monsters sneers, "A petty human thinks he can win against us?" As they rush at him, Lucas begins casting, a radiant magic circle that glows with symbols and energy. Lucas smiles coolly. "Indeed, that's what I think. Am I wrong?" With a calm gesture, he lowers his hand, and in an instant, a cataclysmic explosion engulfs the enemies, reducing the battlefield to scorched earth. "Humans aren't as weak as you think," Lucas says. A dark voice from behind says, "Your ego is quite extreme, Lucas Trauman." From the shadows, a voice, cold and unwavering. "We are the laws of this world, and the existence who manages chaos, the existence you humans praise and applaud as God." Lucas's retort is immediate, dripping with defiance. "I've never applauded nor praised you." The figure continues, undeterred. "Your actions have disturbed the long-established order and laws. This will be tolerated no more." "Order and laws," Lucas spits back. Would a world with those be in a state like this? A refusal to bow to the authority before him. A chilling calm settles over the confrontation as the adversary delivers their verdict. "Your skills have greatly surpassed the level of humans, but in the end, a human is simply a human." Several more hands start to restrain Lucas. "I can't gather any mana." The realization strikes him like a blow. The voice grows darker. "As you bathe in the absolute darkness of the abyss, you shall fear and doubt again. Eventually, you shall doubt your own existence." The words coil around him, a serpent of despair. "Return to the void, befriend the eternal suffering, and regret your existence. What befalls upon the humans who defy God?" The abyss swallows the last of the light, and Lucas stands alone, facing the weight of a fate he had dared to challenge. That was all 4,000 years ago. Now we come to the present day. "Do you think we're beggars?" one bully says. "Why do you walk around with this worthless amount of money?" "I pity the pockets of the reputable Blake house's third son. They're so empty," the orange-haired bully says. "Well, what's the point of being the third son of the prestigious Blake house?" The verbal assault and physical assault continued. "Unlike your respectable siblings, you're just some talentless trash. But I like you the way you are." The orange guy leans in, while savoring beating the crap out of him. "No matter how much you're insulted for being the shitty disgrace of the famous family or the worst student in the academy's history, you don't die." A bitter laugh follows. "I would have kicked the bucket ages ago if I were you. But what I like the most about you is that I don't get sick of punching you over and over again. It's just perfect for me." The orange guy grabs Fry's hair and throws him towards the fatty. The fatty kicks him in the stomach. Then both of them start to stomp on Fray like he's an insect. Fray is begging them to stop. But guys, have you ever seen a bully stop when someone asks them to? Well, guess what? First time for everything. The bullies stop. "Remember the practical magic class tomorrow afternoon?" the orange guy says. "You will be paired with me. Don't worry, I'll be gentle." The lie curls sweetly in the air. "You know how nice I am, right?" Then the mask slips. "I'll make it a day you'll always remember until your death. Because from tomorrow onwards, you won't be able to walk properly, because I am going to break your legs." Then the bullies leave. Laughter rings out, unhinged and giddy. "Don't wander around and head home early," a mockery of concern. "You need to sleep well so that we can have fun tomorrow. I love the sensation when I punch him. It's amazing. Ha ha!" As Fry says to himself, "I want to get stronger." Then we see the legendary 9-star mage Lucas Trauman still trapped in the void, but suddenly he hears a voice. "I want to be stronger." but Lucas thinks that he is just hallucinating. Oh well, it's about time I lost my mind, Lucas says to himself. How long has it been? Maybe a few hundred years. No, maybe a few thousand years, Lucas wonders. Is this the punishment for defying God? Is this fear I feel? I had no idea that I was such a weak human. Scene shifts to Fray, and his face is like, huh? What did you say? His father replies, I said, you are to disappear from my life. The voice carried disdain. I am not going to overlook the fact that you dirtied our family's honor anymore, his father replied coldly. Fray's face was in shock, but he realized that his so-called father is no different from those bullies. Then Fray asks one last question. Is it truly a sin to be weak? His father cuts him off. You are not permitted to ask that question again. The Blake house does not accept individuals who are incapable of getting stronger. And finally, the cruelest dismissal of all. You have never existed in my life. Then the final twist of the knife. I have never appeared in your life either, his father said coldly. The silence that followed was heavier than any blow. The scene shifts to Fray's house. The realization crashed over him like a wave of crushing darkness that he had no choice but to commit suicide. His hands trembling, I never knew death was this terrifying, he thinks to himself. Now back to Lucas Trauman. The words from before echoed in his mind. Fear and doubt again. Eventually, you shall doubt your own existence. God? What is God? Order? Laws? His voice was raw as he screamed against the void. Do you actually fancy this absurd and nonsensical world that much? Lucas says, I see now. I understand. Why is this world so hideous? And who keeps messing with it? And that's why I also understand why I absolutely cannot give up. His gaze hardened, locking onto an unseen enemy. Demigod! The name was a curse, a challenge. I'll endure this hellish place as long as possible if it's to punch your face. Elsewhere, Fray is choking on blood. Another mind unraveled in Lucas's mind. What is this? Lucas asked in shock. Lucas can't believe what is happening. Who is entering my consciousness like this? The thoughts spiraled, fractured. A quiet resignation followed. I don't blame anyone. It's all my fault. I was the one born without wings. It's my fault I can't get stronger, Fray blamed himself. The admission tasted bitter, a truth too heavy to deny. A hollow laugh escaped. If I were you, I would have kicked the bucket ages ago. The words twisted into a silent, don't make me laugh. Who are you to judge me? Fray said as he died. It was like warm sunlight shone down onto Lucas. Fray lay in front of Lucas's presence. The moment Fray appeared, the seal started to release Lucas. Lucas walked towards Fray, checking who this child was and how he came here. While Fray, taking his last breath, wished, if I could be reborn someday, I wish I'll be able to leap off the ground and fly up to the highest place in existence, and I'll be able to watch the world from above. The words trembled with fragile hope. I hope I have powerful and mighty wings. But then suddenly, Lucas's eyes opened, and he found himself in that child's body. It didn't take much time for Lucas to understand that he had reincarnated into the body of this child. 4,000 years, it had been that long, Lucas realized. Then, a declaration, raw and unshaken. Fray Blake, the world's weakest human. And I am Lucas Trauman, the world's strongest mage. Or so I was. From now on, you are me. Since you gave me freedom, I shall give you wings. And finally, the oath. Just you wait. The demigod, the one hailed as God. It won't take long. I'll definitely get back at you. Scene shifts. Lucas is now in Fray's body and thinks, I can't use all my powers in Fray's body. A grim acknowledgement. I must first muster the lacking energy and fortify my foundation so that I can collect mana. To fight against the demigod, I need to recover my original strength as fast as possible. The thought sharpened into a vow. Need to be even stronger than I was before. A long-awaited moment had arrived. It's the chance I got after waiting for 4,000 years. The words carried the weight of millennia, patience now forged into purpose. And then, a breakthrough. It appears that I've reached 5-star with this. The milestone was more than progress. It was a stepping stone toward vengeance. The path ahead was clear. Rebuild, reclaim, and rise, until the debt of 4,000 years could finally be repaid in blood and fury. The corruption festered like a sickness, the impurities that have accumulated within Fray's. I need to vomit it all out. The purge was violent, necessary, a cleansing of borrowed flesh and poisoned will. A sneer cut through the haze. Looks like he was planning to commit suicide because of you. Hey, you really think that moron will do it? David replied. Want to bet 10 lunch tickets? The fatty replied. Yeah, let's do it. Scene shifts. Shit, just how much did I vomit? The question was raw, the aftermath of expulsion leaving him hollow. Was all this impurity really inside this young man's body? Lucas says, you've had your share of troubles. A pause, then a bitter laugh. Not as much as me, though. Then Lucas's stomach growled, a visceral protest. Damn, I'm starving. Eyes turned toward a gaunt figure slumped over his tray. The murmurs sharpened. What's with him? Did he starve for an entire week or what? A gasp. Recognition. Whoa, that's Fray Blake. And Lucas, wow, everything is so delicious since I haven't eaten anything for 4,000 years. Now Lucas is done devouring and thinks, I suppose I have to go to class with this. Resignation settled like a stone in his gut. I have no choice. The gaps in his understanding yawned wide. I can't make up for the knowledge I lack. Yet necessity forced his hand. I need to learn about how the world functions these days. A grim determination hardened within him. That way. The unspoken promise of vengeance lingered, unfulfilled, but never forgotten. Scene shifts. Lucas is now in front of the classroom door. As he opens the door, everyone looks at him with disdain. Great, 10 lunch tickets. Damn it. Why can't that trash even commit suicide properly? That's right. How many times have I told you to bet correctly? Then David stops him. Finally here, buddy. Oi, Fray, I lost my tickets because of you, you know? That's why you should pay me back. Then a sharp flick to the forehead followed. Who are you to hit my head like this? Lucas thinks. Is he a friend? Nope, probably not. No matter the era, there are always people like him. Then a tremor ran through his body. What the? Am I trembling right now? By a mere pig. While Lucas is still trembling, Fatty is raising his hand to hit Fray, but as the strongest human he was, he dodged it instinctively. But everyone was in shock. They could not believe their eyes that Fray had dodged. Then Lucas realized, oh, so it's them? The ones who made Fray give up living. Fatty, embarrassed from before, said, looks like my hand slipped, but not this time, and moved forward to attack. Before he could even land the attack, Lucas punched him so hard the pig-like creature went flying. The classroom erupted into chaos as they just saw a pig flying across the classroom. What the? How was he sent flying? Gasps filled the room as students scrambled back. What happened to him? Lucas stood still. A wave of shame crashed over him. Gosh, so embarrassing. Why did I do that to a kid? Then, Lucas slithered into his mind. Fray, this is a special service for you. Since I'm humanity's strongest mage, David's thoughts snarled back in panic. Wait, did that trash Fray do that now? That trash! Since when was he capable of doing such things? While everyone was in shock, this girl seemed to be impressed. The professor's sharp voice cut through the chaos. What's with the uproar in here? A trainee stammered, pointing at the motionless body on the floor. Jack suddenly went flying and fainted. He's not moving anymore. Yeah, that pig's name is Jack. The professor stepped forward, his eyes scanning the scene. Traces of martial skills used with mana. There shouldn't be anyone this talented, even amongst the professors. With a composed tone, he addressed the class. Professor Dio left to take care of Trainee Jack. Trainee Jack is simply unconscious. His life is not at risk. You don't need to worry. They said he should wake up this evening. The professor's name, Kevin. The professor feared by all. Females will supervise today's class. The classroom buzzed with tension as Professor Kevin strolled in, his gaze lingering a little too long on the female trainees. Yum! This class's air is truly the best, he mused, a smirk playing on his lips. There's a lot more female trainees here, especially our cute and pretty Isabelle. A nearby student grimaced, whispering to another student, Gosh, I really don't like Professor Kevin. That dirty pig starts grinning whenever he sees female students. Fray kept his head down, but the professor's voice cut through the murmurs. How odd to see you here, Fray. Since when do you attend all your classes? Professor Kevin asked. Lucas, thinking to himself, Fray, you brat. And here I thought you were studying properly from how delicate you looked. But you were ditching class? Lucas swallowed hard, forcing a meek reply. Please be lenient, Professor. Looks like I was busy. A student nearby fake coughed. How sickening. It's because you would bully him whenever he came. Kevin's eyebrow arched. Oh ho, is that so? So there were things more important than my class, you say? Seems like that's the case. I'm at the age where children are sensitive to everything, Lucas replied. A snort escaped someone in the back. What is he talking about? Another hissed. Don't laugh, he'll target you. Kevin sighed dramatically. Ha! I see. The age where you're sensitive to everything. Then his voice sharpened. But I have a question, Trainee Fray. You've been properly following the lesson's contents, right? Before Fray could react, Kevin clapped his hands. Let's give you a quick quiz. If you are unable to answer even a single question, you will have to take responsibility for that defying attitude just now. The room fell silent. Now, the first question. Name 3 items that were used by the magic warrior king, Kasajin. Lucas's breath hitched. Wait, did he just say? 4,000 years ago, in a place surrounded by mountains, a man was standing at the edge of a cliff, clenching his fist and flexing his muscles like gym rats flex after going to the gym for 2 days. But the only difference here is that he has muscles to flex. Then, the man punched. The punch destroyed everything in its path and put a hole in the mountain. A voice from behind said, "Do it moderately, or else you'll erase all the mountains at this rate." The man turned around and said, "Oh, it's you, Lucas. It's been a long time." "Kasajin," Lucas replied. But Kasajin didn't pause his training, his fists cutting through the air. Lucas sighed. "Are you really going to train when a friend came to visit for the first time in years?" Kasajin replied, "I have prepared tea. Drink." "Ha, that musclehead," Lucas said. "How will you get married when all you do is train?" Kasajin replied, "You are also the same. You also don't understand women's hearts." "There's nothing wrong with me," Lucas replied. "Love and affection are evil," Kasajin said while walking towards Lucas. "Those who can't tame their desire won't be able to stand." "Ugh, I've heard that so many times already, you asshole." Lucas threw his hands up in frustration. A martial artist must see women as mere rocks. Then they both started staring at each other. A smirk tugged at the corner of Lucas's mouth. "As long as she's pretty, I don't mind rocks." Back in the classroom, Lucas burst into laughter. "What, magic warrior Kasajin? The musclehead who couldn't do anything other than train has become famous after 4,000 years? You have succeeded in life, Kasajin." Professor Kevin's smirk widened as he repeated the question. "What's wrong, Fray? Can't answer." Isabelle thinks Fray is definitely screwed. How are they supposed to know something that isn't even clearly written in the history records? That pervert got excited and is trying to show off his knowledge. Just as the tension peaked, Isabelle's voice cut through. "Apologies for intervening, Professor Kevin. This trainee believes the question you just asked isn't related to the subject history of magecraft we've seen in class." All heads swiveled toward trainee Isabelle. Lucas thinks, what's wrong with her? Despite her pretty appearance, she talks like a soldier. Professor Kevin's smile froze. Kasajin was a martial artist. He only used mana to enhance his physical body. Therefore, we cannot call him a magician. The professor's eye twitched. Kasajin was not a magician, you say? While walking toward Isabelle, "Are you insulting all practitioners training in magic warrior techniques?" Isabelle replied, "I merely believe it is an incorrect interpretation." Lucas thinks, insulting? As far as I recall, if I ever called him a magic warrior, he would fight me to the death. Looks like this will be an interesting debate. "What do you think, Isabelle?" the professor said. Then the professor started to grab Isabelle's shoulder, saying, "Do you want to have a debate in my laboratory? Just the two of us?" Isabelle, frightened, said, "Please, stop this." Well, he is the most feared professor for a reason. Professor Kevin spoke. "I didn't think you would be this disrespectful. Then why don't you answer instead?" he said to Isabelle. Before she could even react, Lucas spoke clearly. 3 items used by the magic warrior king Kasajin: the Tiger King's glove, the giant's belt, the Gale necklace. Kasajin was a minimalist, so those were the only ones. A heavy silence fell. Everyone's jaw tightened in shock. Then the professor replied, "You are correct." Lucas relaxed. "All right, there's no way I'd be wrong. I did tell him to pay more attention to fashion trends, but he didn't listen to me at all." A trainee nudged another, whispering, "Fray, that guy, isn't he a bit odd today?" Another whispered, "Yeah, he is very weird today." Professor Kevin's eyes narrowed, shifting tactics. "However, trainee Isabelle, I believe that you lack respect and manners. Follow me to my laboratory immediately." Isabelle was so frightened she was about to cry. But then Lucas stepped forward. Professor Kevin, do you know this? It's something magic warrior Kasajin used to say. Feelings of love and affection are evil thoughts that perturb a martial artist's composure. They must see women as mere rocks. Those who fall to desire will not be able to stand straight on their feet and degrade into creatures worse than beasts. So what are you trying to say? Professor Kevin asked. Lucas replied, nothing, just repeating it. But now I'm thinking maybe Kasajin was wrong, seeing how you're still standing perfectly on your feet. Professor Kevin's composure snapped. He shouted, did you lose your mind after answering one question? Let's see how that tongue of yours can run. As I said earlier, even a single question wrong, and you will take the responsibility as a trainee of the academy. Everyone was in shock. Nobody could believe that Fray had answered everything correctly. Professor Kevin's face twisted in disbelief. How can this even be? About the history of the Light Ages that most professors at the academy don't know. Is he truly Fray Blake, the academy's worst trainee? The tension in the classroom shattered as Lucas's voice cut through with unexpected calm. Oh, time for lunch. He turned to Professor Kevin with a smile. Professor, is there anything else you want to ask? Even though it's a fun quiz, I'm feeling hungry. Professor replied, the class has ended. The moment Lucas heard those words, he ran off like his mommy was calling for him, and the professor is still shitting in his pants. Outside the classroom, Lucas is walking while singing, I'll eat a whole lot of food. Are you going for lunch? Isabelle asked Fray, her tone like a soldier. Lucas turned back, stared at her, then turned around and continued his journey to the cafeteria. Isabelle thinks, he ignored me. Then she started following him. Lucas continued his journey to the cafeteria while singing, and Isabelle kept following him. But enough is enough. Lucas turned around and said, geez, why are you following me? Isabelle replied, I am also on my way for lunch, in a soldier-like tone. Now Lucas had enough. He asked, why do you talk like you're a soldier? It's weird. Isabelle, in a soldier-like tone, said, it's a family heritage. Please be understanding. Scene shifts to a table full of dishes. Isabelle, in shock, asked, will you really eat all this food by yourself? Lucas replied, try starving for 4,000 years, then you will understand. As he prayed, thank you for the food. Isabelle asked, what are you talking about? Lucas replied, you don't need to know, but why have you been following me everywhere? She lied smoothly. Please don't misunderstand. There were not many empty seats left. But anyway, how do you know so much about the Light Ages? Isabelle asked. Lucas, surprised, asked, what Light Ages? Isabelle replied, 4,000 years ago, when the 4 great masters were active. It was the era in history when magecraft was most advanced. Lucas thinks to himself, magecraft hasn't developed any, but actually regressed instead. Could it be that demigod's doing? Isabelle explained to Lucas. There were 4 great masters who brightened magecraft's history. They are called the Magic Warrior King, Kasajin, the Great Sage Schweitzer Wilsman, the Black Witch Iris Fistfounder, and finally the man hailed as the strongest mage, and the man I aspire to rival, Lucas Trauman. He was truly a great and incredible master. If he were still alive, then I would certainly have asked for his hand in marriage. Fray spat out his drink, laughter bursting forth. Isabelle said, why are you laughing? Lucas replied, a little kid that's yet to fully grow up talking about marriage? Isabelle's cheeks flushed crimson. What? What did you say? Wiping tears from his eyes, Fray waved a dismissive hand. I'll accept your feelings, but kid, I'm not interested in children. This is discourteous, Isabelle replied. When have I asked for your hand in marriage? Fray just smirked, popping another bite into his mouth. Students nearby whispered, what kind of pairing is that? A trash-eating lunch with a goddess? Another whispered, yeah, I also saw she was chasing after him. The proud Isabelle, who always ranks second in the academy. Even that infamous David gets rejected every day by Isabelle. And David heard both of them. After getting caught, and ran away. Then David saw Isabelle really sitting with that trash. He got even more pissed and said, that Fray asshole is really annoying today, while gritting his teeth. Back to our duo. Isabelle says she wants to know about Schweitzer's 3 training methods, which Professor Kevin asked from you. Lucas blinked. Oh, that? To that question, Isabelle continued, you answered assimilation, amplification, and battling. But I had learned that Schweitzer's training methods were only assimilation and amplification. Isabelle asked. Will you give me the honor of learning the third method? Then Lucas asked, what stage are you at currently? Isabelle replied, a competent 3-star. Lucas said, you are quite talented for someone your age. Isabelle said, I have noticed it from earlier, that you talk like you've lived for a very long time. Lucas replied, I have lived for a long time, far too long. Isabelle replied, are you not the same age as me? Lucas replied, well, yes and no. Isabelle asked, what do you mean? Lucas, finally done eating, said, now I am stuffed. Isabelle asked, did you finish everything already? Lucas replied, you take your time to eat. I will take my leave. Isabelle didn't let him leave. You have yet to answer my question. What kind of method is battling, exactly? Lucas set his fork down with deliberate slowness. What I have isn't knowledge, but experience. So my answer might be biased. Isabelle's breath caught. Not knowledge, but experience. Just who are you, Fray Blake? Lucas had already left, carrying all the plates. The training ground buzzed with nervous energy as Professor Jane's voice cut through the murmurs. Today's class is a particular training session with 1v1 magic battles. While David in the background was thinking, finally, the time has come. But why is Isabelle with that trash? Isabelle was still asking the same question to Lucas, and Lucas was like, I don't give a shit, bitch. Professor Jane continued, for the sake of fairness, only 1-star magic spells will be tolerated. Other than that, these will be real battles. You will be held responsible for your own injuries. Therefore, trainees should get on stage expecting a real-life battle. Lucas sighed dreamily. That professor? Isabelle replied, are you talking about Professor Jane? Lucas replied, yeah, she's gorgeous. Isabelle blinked. Are you in your right mind? You're talking about a professor in her 40s. Lucas didn't waver. Yeah, just gorgeous. Then Lucas turned to Isabelle. You should watch and learn. That is what a woman worthy of being called mommy looks like. Isabelle groaned. Even your taste in women is old. Before Isabelle could retort, Professor Jane's voice rang out again. The first match between trainee David and trainee Fray. David asked, how do you feel, buddy? The weight has been torturing me. I couldn't sleep last night from the excite. But Lucas just walked past him like he was not even there. He went straight to Professor Jane and said, I now realize why I opened my eyes after my eternal slumber. It was all to meet you. Professor Jane nervously spoke. What do you think you are doing, trainee Fray? Fray continued. Do not worry. Despite my appearance, my soul has lived longer than you have. Isabelle in the back still couldn't understand how Fray could be interested in that woman who was in her 40s. Lucas asked, what do you think? Will you do me the honor of taking you out for dinner tonight? Professor Jane, blushing so hard she couldn't even stand properly, replied, I might consider going on a date with someone who has liked this video and subscribed.